A Tale of Dungeons and Dragons. The Fury of May, the Arcane Mace Renell. Chapter 1. Tales from the Arcane Land. On the great continent of three lands, surrounded by the ocean known as Arkangard, separated by the sea, there was a vast population of people with talents for magic. The lands were founded by the descendants of the elves, where they now reside in Arkantuv, a naval city on the far southeastern coast and the near west of the capital. There are many humans with elven blood, with many magical skills learned from the artifacts found in abandoned temples or in the desert in sad and melancholic villages, the destruction of which implied that a large-scale catastrophe had spread to the ancient residents of the ages far behind. Little is known about what happened, or who or what was to blame for such tragic events, the reports accusing a kind of vicious plague that drank the blood of its victims and burned their homes with a breath of fire and of smoke. But no conclusion has ever been reached. Anything that could be said was that something vast and powerful existed in that land, and that it had been awakened in some way. Yet this was only a hidden theory, that only archaeologists in the kingdom could tell whether it was safe or whether it was true or not. And those that could made an oath of silence to keep everyone else safe from the horrid details. Yet this was a hidden theory, that only archaeologists in the kingdom could tell whether it was true or not. And those that could made an oath of silence to keep everyone else safe from the horrid details. Great vessels of long ago that came from many other kingdoms seeking to expand or create new kingdoms and lay new roots in places far from their native lands that brought the first settlers in those wild lands abandoned by conscious life. The elves, humans, and half-elves from several of the greatest kingdoms on Earth still existed in the great citadels topped by soaring towers to be the home of the kingdom. Of the New World, the colonized land, three main families ruled. These nobles were located in Arkantuv, Arkagrin, and Arkhanagor, founded by the Asbertuv, Hakugrin, and Vadranagor families, of elves, half-elves, and humans, respectively. Arkhanatuv, a city ruled by the elvish people, was responsible for most of the riding animals and rare metals that were sold to the other cities. Their mines were filled with automatons fueled by crystals, sparing the elven people from doing jobs harder than hammering metal and terse beautiful gems and stones. By all means, Arkhanatuv was an unusual city of elves, since the elvish god made her people for forests and the meadows. However, the people of Arkhanatuv worked the stone and metal, their houses and castles and walls made of rocks so gingerly etched from their mother stone one could say that they were raised from the ground by the sheer willpower of the ground itself. Their artisans were unmatched, and their animal breeders had such an expertise for dealing with wild cattle or horses, in rare cases, even griffins. These breeders were dubbed the bravest brand of elves that the world could ever see. Many stories from their impressive wonders with jewelry and war animals could be found at their library, the Lighthouse of the Thousand Lights. Arkhanagor was the great golden capital of Arkangard's magic. A place of strong religious and scholarly connections with the past, the birthplace of great heroes who use magic or witchcraft where few manage to enter. Through natural talent or years of dedication and work, the High College, known as the Schule Arcane, was honored by several kingdoms from outside other countries and distant continents, a place of respect, with good teachers and dedicated students. Only a few outsiders had a chance to study in the Schule Arcane. Arkangrin was a city rich in commerce, bustling with people buying or selling with others, a meeting point for merchants and peddlers to find rare or eccentric artifacts and special commodities to sell elsewhere. This was where many types of merchandise arrived after being collected in the coastal city of the Sea Elves, and the big market at Swallows Square was the biggest attraction of all the land, full of color, life, pleasant smells, and unique attractions. Goods that could be acquired by good people at good prices. It is with Arkangrin that the Renell House does business constantly, buying, selling, and transporting goods overseas, imports and exports of all possible types. One of the emerging clans of good family and great possessions, the Renell come from an ancient lineage, born from the hero Barkon Renell of the Solar Shield. A tall man with coal black hair and gray eyes like an autumn sky, intense like sharp arrows, and his huge golden shield that emitted bursts of fire that turned his enemies into ashes. His fame was due to an ancient battle he had against the people of the Harbrannans, a despised race of humans, many of them settling on the land of the Arkhaven fiefdoms. People did not want them there, as the Harbrannans kept committing crimes and heinous rituals, and the fights which resulted from this division reached the point of wizards intervening, and many lives were lost. Until Barkhan intervened and chased them away, and gained much fame fighting other distant battles, until he died at the age of 89, leaving a big family behind to keep his bloodline strong, and alive for futures to come. No one, to this day, was able to know where such a noble hero came from, and it is said that only his direct family knows of his origin, promising to maintain the mystery in order to create the legend of hope for those in need of a hero. Paintings of him in richly detailed pictures were distributed in every corridor in the Rennell mansion, the city of Arkhaven. The Rennell's business focused on selling clothes and armor, as well as rare books and food supplies. Animals, vegetables, products derived from the coming of the family farm, which was supervised by the sister of the current lord of the house, Lithia Rennell Estes, and Verdun Rennell Estes, respectively. They did not get along very well because of their feud over inheritance, but they still worked together as much as possible. Verdun's housewife and spouse, Maybell, handled a coastal business in Arkentuve from time to time, analyzing the best overseas purchases. The family was doing very well, with their two promising children to take care of business when they were too old to keep working. Young Dane, the eldest son, who had been taught from a young age about equine culture and had his little studs and mares of the best qualities, and Mayahin, or simply May, the youngest daughter and good at pawn and arms negotiations despite the family's reprisals for ladylike deals. May was the family's great promise to rise to the rank of the great houses of Arkengard, with her intense, flowing black hair, cold and grey eyes adorning a delicate and well-proportioned face, with red lips and a well-made body from exercise and the good nutrition provided by her family. It was said that she had Barkhan's blood with more force in her veins than any other member of the family after the hero himself of many past generations. The strange resemblance between them could confuse a lot of people who did not know the family history, and many said that she could be a lost and immortal daughter of the hero, and her parents laughed at it with pleasure. She was the jewel, the pride of the Rennell house in this generation, except for one pertinent detail. She was unwed when the right time came. The event always hammered in the parents' minds, having to remember what happened several times by neighbors and other families at seasonal festivals and other reunions. Verdun and Maybell discussed their daughter's situation again, for the 10th or 20th time in 5 years, at the breakfast table, while the children were doing their morning studies. "Whatever happened to the last member of the Brombergs?" Maybell asked, taking a sip of her tea. "From what I was told, after being expelled to Garkhananat on the neighboring continent, they were captured in a smuggling scheme involving children," Verdun replied without taking his eyes off his diary, making some notes while biting on a toast with cherry jam. "I've heard that it was a large and awful scheme, selling young girls and boys to overseas bridges, to other places. The rumors say that these kids were sold into slavery and, other heinous jobs." "Heavens, what a disgusting thing!" Maybell complained, grimacing and tremble flowing across her pale skin. "To think that young Ike Bromberg looked like an eligible bachelor, handsome and well-groomed, polite, courteous, and all he wanted was to groom our girl as he did with others in several other kingdoms. Ah!" "The whole family has a very bad record, Maybell. I will not be bothering with them anymore. They are finished, condemned to execution. If given the chance of parole, I doubt they will escape this time. Death by hanging, Johnson told me. He does his business with the city and ran to tell me when he heard." "Always so eager to remind us of this particular failure. Now, our little girl is past her debutante age. Her 21st birthday will come soon, and we don't know what to do with her. She is talented, she's beautiful and well-educated. Have patience with her, please. She knows how to do very well, and I'm sure there will be a young man suitable enough for her. Because the more she matures, the more she looks like you." Maybell laughed with grace at that flirtation, for Verdun never ceased to court his wife. But that did not take away the concern that they had for the girl's future and the future of her family. The husband seemed more relaxed, knowing that Dane was a great choice to take the family to the next level, but Maybelle wanted her heir to have a stage for herself with her achievements, and once the marriage failed, giving her a reputation of a brute or cruelty. Although some people justified what happened, knowing the Bromberg's plans as made explicit to everyone after the event, which alienated a stark majority of the boys and left her rather lonely. To make matters worse, May used to take combat and forge classes, things that a maiden shouldn't do in any given chance. It all made Maybelle desperate, because after all, who would consider a thug-like girl attractive at all? But, thinking about it, there was still a way to make the family's next step towards the higher rankings. Magic. The girl had a raw energy inside her. It was impressive. Unlike her brother, who was good with animals only, May was a power bomb, which sometimes caused serious accidents. One of them, the event with young Ike, for example. And the local magic teachers did not know what to do with her when her parents asked them to give her lessons. With that in mind, Maybelle returned to the conversation with Verdun, but this time with a whole new idea. What do you think about sending her to the School Arcane in the capital? I'm sorry, Verdun started, his coffee cup halfway to his mouth. Think about it, dear. May has a source of enormous magical power. If she knows how to cultivate that power and control it, who knows what feats she will not be able to achieve. She's the face of old Barkon, and I'm not surprised that she has so much arcane energy running through her veins. But if we leave it as it is, this missed opportunity could end up ruining us, let alone hurting her. I admit she has certain talent for the magical arts. However, I don't know if it is the best option for the girl. If we can talk to her and she accepts the suggestion, I can get us a favor that the School Arcane's headmaster himself owes me from the past times. And what kind of favor does this principal of the biggest school of magic in Arkengard owe you? She asked, really surprised by that unusual revelation. Verdun had never told her anything like that before. It happened a few years ago before I met you. Verdun finally sipped his coffee with a sigh of satisfaction, and stood looking up dreamily. His face seemed a bit younger because of that. His name was Anton Wideroot, the Sky Reacher. You must have heard of him. Maybelle nodded, eyes wide, and Verdun continued. One time, he contacted me, saying that the elves barred his order of griffin feathers and basilisk scales. I managed to get them to release his purchase. Because of that, he was able to formulate the flying spell that made him famous, and after that he swore to me that he would do me a favor if I needed it in the future. I've never thought about it with such interest because it never seemed necessary. That is, until now. Rather convenient, Maybelle was impressed, but even more hopeful that her daughter would be able to enter the School of Magic. What do you think about a special dinner tonight? It's a great idea, I believe, Verdun replied, finishing his breakfast. Just in case, I'll send the cooks to prepare May's favorite dish. This will cheer up the girl. Verdun laughed to himself, knowing his wife's squeamishness like no one else, and knowing his daughter's strong genius. She certainly didn't take anything from us, her parents, but rather Barkon himself, he thought as he collected his pen and notebook, and left his wife talking to the staff. In the training grounds of the family farm, pruned lawns with well-defined garden corners, Dane and May played a strange game. Supervised by the girls' chaperones and the house steward, Gwen, Tress, and Corel respectively. The three kept the youth's activities in check, as much as they could keep in check while May held a massive wooden stick in her hands. The idea of the game came from May, obviously, and she had made quite sure that Dane understood the rules of the game clearly. It consisted of one of them throwing a ball, and the other hitting it with a bat, and in doing so, the bat would throw the ball at a target far away from them, at the other end of the lawn. It seemed simple to play, but rather complicated to apply, revolving around strength and aim, and a little bit of luck when the wind changed direction. Now it was Dane who threw the ball, and when May missed 3 strokes of the ball, it would be his turn. The score of the game was being noted by Corel, assessed on his notebook, and it was 5 points in favor of Dane to 3 points for May, and it looked very promising to be a minimally fun activity. Maybe it was a good invention for a new sport, who knows? Maybe it'd become famous or popular after all. Dane was great at throwing. His arm was notorious for dropping birds by throwing a single rock into the air. His strength was great due to his work with horses and his role as a wild horse tamer. So throwing the ball to his sister would not be difficult at all. Taking a deep breath, he moved his hand back and looked closely at May, and then threw the ball as hard as he could. He just didn't expect May to be getting ready to hit the ball against a tree and make the projectile take down all 3 targets, scoring 6 points, and finally winning the match after 4 rounds. Her ladies-in-waiting applauded enthusiastically, while the butler looked at them with a smile contained on his bearded face. "How do you do these things?" Dane complained, a little upset by the defeat. "Really, it seems crazy when people ask me, but you don't seem to follow the same laws as other humans." "It seems that you forget I have a lot of physical strength, little brother." May laughed at that as she returned the baton to her brother. "Frankly, Danny, it seems that you don't know me. I also use a little bit of magic, enough to change the route of the ball." "We can use magic?" Dane asked, even more upset. "Well, you scored 5 points without needing, so you could have scored more points if you'd used yours," May shrugged. "I'm gonna want a rematch then, girl," Dane replied, his eyes sparkling with rivalry. May glared back at his low blow. "Sir, miss," Carell called to them, while a maid brought a cart with snacks. "I presume that now is a good time to rest. With your morning activities over, the game over, I presume, you better have a meal." The butler had a low voice that caught anyone's eye when he spoke. His rigid and methodical ways easily caused the youth's imagination to picture an automaton dressed in human clothes and fake skin. But he was kind, and he was very fond of the kids at the Rennell house. He made good work arranging chairs and a modest table for the 2 young heirs and the ladies-in-waiting, while he remained disciplined and quiet, watching everything from above with his frightening 6'4" height. The tall, gray-haired, hard-eyed gentleman was almost frightening, and many children shied away from him when their families visited the Rennell mansion. However, he was the most peaceful creature in that region, calm and controlled. Even his scolding was strangely peaceful. Due to that, the heirs became strongly attached to him as some sort of protector, a silent sentinel with a kind heart. The 2 siblings began to eat, talking about the family business and answering questions from the ladies-in-waiting, who were very uninterested in the youth's game, just wanting to extend the moment in the conversation to fulfill their obligation. They were not paid to understand the Rennell's work, but to keep the young May in line, as much as they could due to their fear of the black-haired girl's powerful muscles. Of the handmaidens, Gwen was more energetic when she needed it, while Tress seemed more anxious and rather disorganized. The 2 seemed to compose a unique personality, which fulfilled what was missing in May: feminine composure. Even though she was a beautiful, elegant girl with delicate features and extremely attractive, she was a little careless when she was without parental assistance or visitors, eating sandwiches one after the other, almost without breathing and drinking tea, or wine, taking long sips and sighing to finally get air in her lungs, as she did now, but without the same intensity that she used to when she invaded the kitchen at the age of 13, as she was in the company of her brother, whom she liked so much. May enjoyed those moments very much. Eating in the garden after a day of activities was a relief, and she was still able to look at the gardens of the farm, without the presence of Lithia, of course, and she was very fond of flowers, roses and tulips, carnations and dandelions, but her favorites were daisies. Simple, small, yellow circles with disorganized and straight white petals were simple flowers with a gentle scent, but she liked those flowers. Perhaps it was an old memory of a day when she had gone out with her parents and went to play in the huge, wild garden of daisies and ended up dozing there. She did not know how to explain her motivations. And while they were eating, Dane decided to ask his sister something that made him very curious about business. "Did you manage to secure that purchase I asked you to?" "Oh, I sure did," May answered with a smile. "I know you love to tame your horses, so the new muzzles shall be in your hands within a week or 2. It didn't cost me too much, despite the high quality. Not only that, but I got you a new set of saddles, and halters, and snafflers. I'm sure Dad would like to be the one to negotiate with the seller, but I got my way with him." "I'm impressed. I can only make a few negotiations with good results, but you can cut a deal with the most stubborn vendors and merchants. You know, most of them only agree with some of the sales because of other deals I offer them. We can cover it, so I'm sure there's no problem with it. I'm pretty sure, Lady May, that most of these vendors and merchants are dazzled thanks to your natural beauty, Gwen said with a confident smile on her face. You really should make more use of your feminine gifts. Oh, stop it, you. Next thing you'll say is something I already heard from my mom. Gwen shrugged, but was still smiling, and May laughed at her. She was always like that. After eating, talking, and feeling the breeze cooling their skin, the ladies asked May to accompany them to bathe, while Dane went with the butler to settle an issue with a customer by appointment, who wanted to buy some good horses. With the bronze tub ready, the water steaming softly as May stepped into it and felt her muscles relax as her ladies took the toiletries for her. Feeling her neck ache, Gwen began to massage her, while Tress read to her the balance that her father asked her to organize. This is very boring, May said while listening. Are those people from Gartava Farm still complaining about the last parcel being stolen by highwaymen? Unfortunately, ma'am. Tress's voice was soft and musical, but her frightened eyes gave her a weird shudder. They demand the repair of commercial losses, or the return of the gold coins sent on the purchases, or a new shipment. Are they open to negotiations, at least? I suppose they are. Great, so let Dad know that I'm going to talk to Frank for him. I have an idea, she said, groaning a little at the massage she received. Frank Cath was Verdun's accountant, secretary, and personal assistant. He was great with numbers and did his job diligently. May liked to talk to him, always with his cigars and a naughty joke on the tip of his tongue. It was fun to speak with him, and whenever he laughed or gestured, his big gut swayed to the point that everyone around him feared modestly, thinking that his belt would break at any moment. Tress switched places with Gwen, who proceeded to read the reports while the other girl helped May wash her blonde black hair. It was not so long before the young woman was clean, smelling of the scent of daisies. She really loved those flowers, and in a light outfit, a simple, thin blue dress, light shoes, and a hair tied in an elegant braid. The girl spent part of the day in her room with her studies and doing the paperwork of some negotiations she did for the local forges, which asked for her help from time to time until the notice of dinner was given by Corell. After finishing with such studies, she went to Frank's office to talk with him. She wanted to finish that little problem as fast as possible. The man was sitting in his chair, busy with work, and greeted May with a slow bow of the head that made his cheeks tremble a little. Due to his massive body size, each single movement could make the fat covering his body wobble like a bowl of jelly. May once told her brother that he looked like a big pile of dough yet to be baked. As an accountant should be, he was squeezed into fancy black and red clothing, a black triplet and a red vest, gray shirt and black trousers, his shoes shining as they moved below his little desk. Once he was done with his papers, he turned his friendly face to the young girl and started talking to her. My Lady May, what brings you here? I suppose you're looking to solve the problems with the Gartva farm, am I right? Precisely, Frank. May let out a sigh of relief as she talked with the fat accountant in front of her. What kind of new trade do they want instead of the reparations and the gold? They wish to have a new shipment, and they want to pay only half of the original price for this new shipment, as they know the Renells simply can't make something out of the charge. However, as an offer of good faith, they promise that the next shipment of anything they end up buying from Verdun's farm will be paid double the original price. It is risky, but they assured me that they can cover it, as long as their purchases get to them and they can proceed with their work. Did they send you a letter about this? Precisely, my Lady May. He handed her a piece of light brown paper filled with words. As her eyes darted around the words from the Gartva farm, May grew tired of all this complaining and all that babbling about how fair trades and purchases should be for everyone, and how things should be handled with better ideas and safer roads and travel plans. At one moment, May saw something very interesting in the letter. With a loud hum from her mouth, she put the letter down at the desk and looked in Frank's eyes. Frank, I see what they plan to do. The new travel route they chose is filled with outposts from the capital and guards, and their job is to collect road tolls. Not only have they asked for more of the products they bought and lost due to the thieves, now they plan to ask for more, lose little, and pay even less because they want to send the money through the same route. And I suppose the messenger received orders to give said taxes to get through these outposts. A sneaky plan, I might say. Considering the 5-day travel, half the original price, will become nothing but 10 gold coins for us. Now that we know what they want, what should we do? Do not tell anything to them. Just send the original values of products they already have bought, but make a delivery man only hand the goods once they receive their payment. And we will not take this capital route, not even a little bit. We can hire a few guards with bows and crossbows. 5 of them should be enough. And if the guard for fun tries to take the cart by force, Frank's eyebrow rose a little with a smile, then they will have to face our security, and then the guard will be sent back. Bold! Very bold of you, my Lady May. So be it. I'll talk to Verdun about this decision. He can handle it, I'm sure. Now, I insist, you must rest a bit, my Lady May. May thanked Frank for the little help while she got up and left the office. Such things could be so easily avoided, but people still tried their best to take advantage of others, and these situations always made the young lady rather tired. At least now, her father would know what was going on and would deal with the problem way better than her, as Verdun was very patient and calm and knew a lot of people who could help him in this matter. But for that moment, May took Frank's advice and rested a bit in her room. Rubbing her face tiredly as she entered her room, May went to the basin with water on her dressing table and washed her face, straightened her braid again, and changed clothes, wearing a different and more behaved dress to meet her parents. The halls of the mansion had a solemn air, in colors of dark brown and scarlet red. The many paintings of the hero Barkon everywhere, paintings of other famous ancestors, and more recent paintings of the family, showing a smiling and plump little girl who was May when she was little. Looking at the photographs made May smile, remembering the most common and normal times in her life when she was 15. There were joyful memories that came to mind, and she saw her younger parents, her brother as a simple boy with a hairstyle draped by his round head, and herself, always in her father's or mother's lap, until she was too big for doing such things. Leaving the painting's gaze behind with a gentle sigh, she headed down the staircase until she reached the dining room, where her parents, her brother, and the ladies, all waiting for her presence to finally start the dinner. The table was beautifully set as usual, with roast shank, hot rolls out of the oven, jars of cider and wine, baked fish and stuffed with onions and green peppers, and of course, her favorite dish, pies. Salty meat pies such as pork or chicken, seasoned with bay leaves and mustard. The image made her eyes sparkle with excitement, but she had to behave and hold on to her enthusiasm while she ate, so as not to irritate her parents. But something caused her mind to pause. Like an omen, those pies were usually only made when it was a special date, like a birthday or something she had done that made Verdun or Maybelle proud. So what would it be? May would find out as she looked at her mother, noticing her eyes filled with a reflection of the fire from the hearth, hiding a new and tiresome plan of hers. "May, my girl," her mother said, and the voice modulated and monotonous to imply a tone of seriousness, "I have a proposal for you."